All right, so I know we were literally just chatting about Hermes the cat. I actually just wanted to keep chatting about the Hermes the cat game. So for those of you guys who don't know, over in the Right Now Discord, I started a really cool writing game, one of my favorites because it's super easy. And where basically one person starts a story, and then every person who responds just responds with a single sentence to just further the story. It's a great way to practice storytelling, and it's such an easy time commitment, and especially collaborating with others. I started a story with Hermes the cat, which anyone who remembers our beloved cat with 9 lives was originally trapped in purgatory back in when we developed it in the summer. And I think now Hermes is fighting mice, and I think he's fighting a rat king. There was a rat at one point, and then I think his dad showed up. I'm not sure. When you guys need to tell me what happened, because I haven't checked it lately.
He's adopted.
Oh, he's adopted.
We're still trying to decide who's his daddy.
I think what I love is that when we practice storytelling together, people are so creative. People are so creative. We keep getting different like styles of writers responding to it. And it's either this like extreme dark thing or like some sort of magic thing or just something really comedic.
I like the language that shows up. Like you've only got a couple of sentences to express yourself, and people really put a lot of thought into exactly how they want to say what they're going to say. So like you get this like almost like really richly descriptive, you know, in a couple of lines, and that thrills me. I love that.
I completely agree with you. And I think it continues to show how creative the writers in this community are. I like continue to be so impressed. And even though we have writers of all different skill levels and some different formats, we have some screenwriters, novelists, we have some graphic writers. I think 1 or 2 playwrights. I know, Bobby, you were talking about maybe a play at some point, which would be super cool. I used to do playwriting.
I'm glad you brought that up. I have actually decided that instead of doing my memoir like I was going to do, I'm going to turn it into a play. Because I feel like I can do all the elements I want in it in a shorter time period if I just do it like in speaking parts. And, you know, have like little action here, action there, this there, this here, you know, whatever. So I'm hoping maybe it will get picked up one day. And because here's the thing, somebody said somebody adopted the cat. I think it was Penelope just now. I think
what I do. What I do.
Something about adopting a cat.
Like I said something, Bobby. That's like me when I'm like talking on streams forever, and people are like, "Yeah, Kaufman, you said all these things," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't remember."
Are you talking about yeeting the cat into a hole?
No, adopting.
Oh, the cat's adopted. Yeah.
I'm adopted too.
Me too.
Same.
Wow.
Really? Wow, this is a high percentage of adoptees.
Okay, how are there 3 of us that are adopted?
That's strange. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
that just like increases your guys' coolness factor over here.
Yeah, thanks.
You're like we're contributing to those backstories of how you guys are going to go on to become these like award-winning authors. Just remember me whenever you guys go on to become famous. Remember us here in the Right Now community.
Oh, definitely, especially you, Kaufman.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, I think that's absolutely phenomenal, and this actually gives me a couple of really cool things to chat about. But before we do, I'd like to welcome you to the Right Now community. This is our 15th session, 15th meeting of the Right Now Writers Group every single Wednesday. So whether you want to just hang out in the comments or come join us on the stream, you should. Drop a comment if you want to come join us in future meetings, and you can come chat clearly we have a bunch of other styles of writers. Today, what we're going to do, we're going to be doing a couple writing sprints. Well, as you know, we'll be mixing up with some random writers chat, figuring out like, all right, what's on our minds? Clearly, we got some Hermes the cat. Clearly, we got some cool backstories and some other miscellaneous writing stuff on mind. So that sounds great. And I will say, let's see, after we do our first writing sprint, we'll do a writing sprint maybe in like 25 minutes, give or take. So that way we can try to get some writing done. I'll do the cover reveals for a Freaky Friday Flash fiction competition, the next 3 cover reveals. So we'll do that in a little bit. And that's all that I got. So come join us. And let me just hop into the chat real fast. Welcome, everyone. And Mary, welcome. You're like, well, why does it say live in 1:13 minutes? I thought it was now. Oh, okay, cool. You're like, your mistake with the time difference. And excellent. We have everyone else here. Megan, welcome, my friend. And Lynn, what's up? And Eli, welcome. Like, Lynn, it's 3 p.m. up here in Alaska. Let me tell you guys, time differences, my mind like blows up all the time since everybody is basically all over the world. And Carissa over Facebook, welcome, my friend. Glad to have you here. LeMay, welcome. All right, let me bring everybody back up on screen. Welcome back, my friends. So once again, I'm super excited to have you guys here. This is the 15th session. I feel like every single week now I've kind of gotten into this like habit of like, I'm looking forward to our Wednesday night writers group because it kind of like gives me some motivation to hopefully not procrastinate since I'm not showing my writing on the screen. How's the writing vibe treating all y'all this week? I know I've been slammed. Penelope probably has been as well with our fiction contest. I'm hoping you guys have made some good writing progress.
I could be doing a little better personally. I did start the prologue for Gods Don't Bleed tonight, but it's...
What a great title, by the way.
Yeah, I still can't believe that one line stuck out to me from The Road to El Dorado. But I just started the prologue for that, so I mean, I've got a little bit done, but not as much as I should.
Ain't that the story of our lives, right? I got some done, but not as much as I should. The story of my life.
Hey, I got like 3 paragraphs. It's better than nothing.
Hey, that's really good. I mean, you're right. I guess that's like a low point for you, Soul. If it's not like at least 1,000 words, it's like everything else is.
I need at least half a page.
I always try to think about that when I'm thinking about word count. I was like, I think on average, a word of, let's say maybe 1.5 spacing, 1 to 1.5 is about 300 words, I believe. I think that's like an average.
Sounds about right.
Possibly. So with that writing, and Megan, I saw you dropped a couple comments down in the chat. Megan, you're like, mostly dealing with my mom who has bipolar depression, who guilt trips when I took out 2 pieces of chicken breast by mistake. So you know what? Family is always challenging, especially when we are living with family, which I can attest. Highs and lows. But at the end of the day, you either work it out or you don't, but they're going to be there in the end regardless. So we just do our best. Megan, hopefully you're able to figure out. Glad you're able to come take a break from your chicken fiasco and come maybe get some writing vibes with us today. Yeah, I was like, all right. I was going to say something else, but train of thought over here. Clearly my mind's in a million directions today. So as I'm thinking about like different writing things that have been on my mind, clearly I'm kind of interested. Most of you guys, are all of you guys focus on short stories or novels? Is that each of your guys' specialties? I know, Bob, we kind of chatted about like playwriting a little bit, but I was curious if there's other ones that are outside of that core that you guys have done before.
I'm a poet. I'm a classically trained poet.
Oh yeah, I mean, I should know that.
Yeah, I'm actually. I had one of the reasons why I started writing to Tira's Requiem was because I had this just phenomenal amount of poetry I'd written for grad school that I didn't ever do anything with, and so it didn't turn out as poetic as I wanted it to. So I think I'm going to curate a chapbook at this point. Like that's on the stuff to do when I'm not. Yeah, a chapbook of poems. So I'm gonna start looking at that like next month. just to get that out there, because I have them. All I have to do is like put them together and edit them. But yeah, that was my jam I started out that way as a poet. I love poetry. I love the motion of language that you can find in it. And adopting that to become like a novelist has been a little bit challenging because I write things very densely. And with a novel, you want to stretch it out and like take your time with the prose. And so the challenge for me has been learning how to meander more through the story. But yeah, it's been fun.
I was like, I don't think I have too much poetry experience. I was like, I think I took some shots at it when I was younger, but poetry is interesting because you have to have a very specific, or not, you have to have a very large vocabulary, even larger than a normal writer, because you have to be able to rhyme word schemes and word structures in a way that sounds musical. There's some really good like simple lyricists out there. A lot of like musicians write very poetically. Like that's why I like bands like Pearl Jam. Dylan, oh my god, like he blows away. Like in terms of contemporary like poetry, he's amazing. With the kind, Eminem is a poet. Like there's a lot of people out there who do that musically, and that it helps to have like a command of a wider vocabulary, but also it's the way that you say things too. Like it's a willingness to really dive deeply into a very small tentative subject, I think, as well, like, and express it in such a way that really kind of expands it out artistically or for whatever reason. Like a lot of like that the teenage angst poetry that we've all written, right? I was like, yeah, actually, I think I did do teenage angst
poetry, right? Yeah,
I knew everything when I was a teenager. I knew it all.
I was so angry. Like I was a mad little poet. Like, I was like, burn in the flames of conformity. Like, like, but a part of it is trying to get. I think that poetry gives you kind of and any sort of writing form that's not like exactly what you're trying to say gives you a way of metaphorizing your experience and makes it easier to talk about.
Megan's to hell with conformity.
That's right. Yes, Megan.
We love that. I absolutely love that.
I had done a paper cutout dolls when I was like 16, and I put all these paper cutout dolls, and I snagged a lighter from one of my friends and lit them on fire and then blew them out. So I had like this, like my garland was these half burned up like paper dolls, like, no barcodes. Like it was
that is just awesome.
I was such a little weirdo. I loved it though.
Is your middle name Wednesday?
No, it's not. But it could have been. Like, yeah, I was very like nouveau grunge goth back in the day, and that was really like the time period. Like the 90s were very big on like examining society from like a wow, we're really screwing this up point of view.
I can envision you, Penelope, with bags of those piranhas getting ready to drop them into the pool.
I was a Scorpio, so I hid all of that, right? Like you'd see me like just being like dark in the corner in school and stuff. Actually, the weirdest thing I ever did was I got this little Lisa Frank notebook with like pink and blue and purple colored pages, and I wrote weird poems on them, and I safety pinned them to my shirts because I didn't like to talk to people, but if they wanted to know my mood, they could just read it.
I feel like that's like the style of like the kids who always have like the leather jacket, like that punk style.
It was very
the jean jackets, and they have all the different the different things.
Yeah, punk is very do it yourself and kind of artistic in that whole kind of like, rip out whatever thing you want and like put it on your jacket, and like it was before bedazzling, but I'm sure there would have been some glam punks back in the day with the bedazzled. You know what I mean? Like that could have been me.
The bedazzled punks.
Yeah, bedazzled punks.
That is just awesome.
The 90s were a magical time, Megan. I agree.
They were.
Did you have to settle on? Did you have to settle on glitter instead of bedazzles?
I use nail polish.
Wow.
I
It's so artsy.
I turned in a whole assignment. I got an F on it, but it was like some weird, like my senior year, it was like do a little bio or something. So I ended up getting a couple of my mom's magazines and I put a collage together of all the weird images I found in these magazines with like paint. And she came back with a big red F on it. It's like, you don't like my art? Good. It's not meant to be win.
I think one of my bedazzled phases, I think I'd have been a senior in high school. Yeah. And this was when I still had hair. So just imagine that I have more hair. And I didn't like my style at all at the time. So I decided to dye my hair. And I went a streaked platinum blonde. So because my hair is naturally like dark. It's like it's like dark. It's like a dark brown. But it was like white. It was this like white effect with dark brown. And it was funny because I was in the high school play at the time. I was one of the pseudo leads, but it's a small play, Odd Couple. For any of you who don't know, Odd Couple was very fun. But we were about 1 to 2 weeks out before the before we started going live and performing. And I hadn't told my director about it. So I show up to rehearsal with like street blonde hair. And I mean, Odd Couple, like, all right, not the time period, but it was, he just like looked at me. I was like, what am I going to do with you? You have to shave your head. We ended up doing a workaround, but it was the most hilarious thing ever. Clearly respect your directors. If you've ever been a play, anybody, respect your directors.
I get mad if you don't.
Yeah. Usually I know for like big, like in big productions, especially with big studios, usually actors have to sign contracts not to change their appearance during a production schedule.
I've heard that.
That happened to Cavill. He had signed Henry Cavill right after he did Superman. He signed up to do something else and he had to have a mustache for it. And then he had to go do reshoots for Superman. So they ended up like CGIing out his mustache in the reshoots because he couldn't shave because he was locked into this other contract.
Well, I guess we're in a time period where you can probably just CGI the things or create a
fix it in post.
Just fix it in post. That's like one of my like favorite lines. I don't know if anybody ever ended up seeing the animated series Has Been Hotel. It was like really fun animated series, bunch of characters in hell, but it's a very fun, dark, twisted one. But that line that always stuck with me, they're like, screw it, fix it in post. And that's just like the running gag. Just always just fix it in post. If there's a problem with filming, fix it in post. And your editors will hate you even more.
I know for my own projects, I tend to focus more on novels. The fan fiction I've been working on for weeks now, it's going to be at least 30 chapters. My shortest fan fiction was 7, and it honestly killed me to make it that short. I wanted to put so much more in, but it worked out very well how it turned out. Because there was enough information that you could easily picture what was going on. It was hilarious because Luffy being raised by Shanks, well, that was just funny. But there was enough left out that it was pretty easy to imagine what happened in the moments between like the time stretches.
That makes sense.
But most of my stuff tends to be like 15 or more chapters. So I tried writing short stories, but that's basically like a school thing for me.
Yeah,
it's something I don't do unless I have to.
You know, I literally had to go back a couple weeks ago when we were setting up logistics for the contest, and I had to look at specifically what were word counts that differentiated the different types of writing. Because I'm like, all right, well, what's the difference between a short story and a novel? Obviously, we know length, but I was like, what's the determining word count? And according to a Google research, obviously, flash fiction is on average 1,000 words or less. I know we extended it for the contest. After flash fiction then becomes a short story. Short story is anywhere under, I think it's 20,000 words. So I think a short story is considered 1 to 20. It might have been 30.
Well, novellas are in there too.
Because the novella is the next one. So it becomes a short story And then after the short story on novella is like 20,000 to 60,000 words.
Okay.
Which I didn't know. I'm like, I wasn't sure what a novella distinction was, but then over 60,000 words is almost like unanimously is considered a novel. So if you write anything that's 60,000 words or more, a novel. If you write 300,000 words, you're a god. I don't know what else to say. Like,
or
that's
your
tone. Or your Google. Yeah, you're one of the two. Oh man, but yeah, I was curious of that distinction because I'm like, well, am I a novelist or am I a novellaist?
No. You're a novelist.
Storyist?
Well, NaNoWriMo's at 50,000, isn't it? What is the?
It is, and NaNoWriMo's all about writing a novel, which 50,000 makes sense. Yeah. Have any of you guys done NaNoWriMo before?
Nope. I've been wanting to for years though, so this year is just perfect for me.
Me too. For anyone who doesn't know, our November holiday writing event now perfectly retitled to Adventure Right Now. So that's going to be the November writing event. It's going to be a NaNoWriMo based event where we are going to write a manuscript together. See if we can do it. We've been pulling every week. It's been really cool actually preparing for it.
Oh yeah.
But it's going to be super cool. Basically, anybody who might be too busy, who might have different styles of writing, and everyone's going to get to be involved with it. So it's going to be really cool. We'll be posting the rules soon once we have the logistics figured out. So hopefully this week.
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Really looking forward to that because I get to take that manuscript and turn it into a game that everyone can play at the end of the month, which is going to just be awesome.
I have a question for you, Soul. Is it going to be like the one that you posted the demo of?
It'll be made in a different program, but yes.
Like basically that like template or that style.
Pretty much.
I like that. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, that was Stone Age Survival. That was my current project, well, my last project for hosted games. But I'm actually turning that one into a visual text-based novel for my company.
Cool.
But that was made using a program called ChoiceScript IDE. The Choose Your Own Adventure game that we're making for NaNoWriMo is actually going to be made in Twine, which is entirely different. I mean, it does the same thing, but it's a little more on the technical side. ChoiceScript was made for people who don't know programming. Twine is made for people who know programming.
The cool thing though is because anyone involved gets the game aspect of it, where they get to watch Soul build the game essentially, and then they also get the manuscript portion of it, where they get to be involved, and anyone who's involved in us trying to achieve that 50,000 word goal will get a co-author credit. So like once again, I really want to give more writers opportunities to become authors. Like that's my goal. More opportunity, make it to try to leverage everyone's creativity, because we have so much creativity in this community. It's crazy. Every single thing I see on the Discord, I'm like, dang, you guys come up with some hilarious and some great like dark stuff, hilarious stuff. It's like such a range, and I love it.
It's so ranged. I barely consider it a range at this point, to be honest.
And I think it's starting to become more common, because I asked myself that in the beginning of the year. I'm like, okay, so if I do stuff for like authors, or do I do stuff for screenwriters? I wonder that in the beginning, but then the types of stories I ended up getting were like a mix. Like you guys have seen the critique shows, like it's a mix of novel, fan fiction. We've gotten some graphic novel. We got poetry before. We've gotten all the range. And I think it really just comes down to the heart. And this is my belief. This might just be me, but regardless of what format that you write in, what does not change is you still have to have incredible characters. You still have to plot out some type of story, whether you're plotting out a story in a poem, which is a little bit more, which is less literal, or whether you're plotting out a story for a non-fiction journey or a fiction journey. I think plotting in characters, like you still have to do that. So I'll get off my podium.
It's on standby.
It looks like we had a really good question here in the chat. So Christina was asking, can you publish fan fiction?
Not officially.
Not officially. My guess would be because of copywriting.
It is completely because of copywriting. But no, for anyone who's interested in actually wanting to put their fan fiction out there, use sites like fanfiction.net or AO3, also known as Archive of Our Own, is probably the most popular fan fiction site out there. I
sounds
post on
like
it regularly.
Megan's familiar with AO3 too.
Yeah, I saw that. But I mean,
I know Deviant Art. I'm not familiar with AO3, but I'm familiar with Deviant Art.
I'm gonna say this about AO3: if it has a fandom, it's on there. It is. I've just like glanced through like the different fandoms. I mean, movies, video games, books, you name it. You name the media. If it has even one story, it is going to be on AO3 at this point. It has that much on it. And AO3 has, I mean, it's a fan made site, but it's really cool. Got all kinds of filters, all kinds of stories, ranging from stuff that's for kids to stuff that's not. And just there's just so much on it. It's almost overwhelming.
And I think what the great thing with fan fiction, right? And this, I don't know whether this is the case or not, but fan fiction is more, I love a type of world of a story, and I want to be more involved in it by creating characters or asking myself what different scenarios could there have been, or doing something that's a pre-existing world. And a lot of time I imagine there's a lot of copyright things that could go into that, which is probably why you couldn't publish something like that. Or maybe there's a whole like copyright thing. I'm not sure, because then I think of like really big franchises of like, say Star Wars, for instance. There have been so many Star Wars spinoffs, but then somebody who writes a Star Wars book, they probably have to get some type of copyright to write within the universe.
They do. I've actually looked that up because I was curious. And no, you have to either contact the owner of whoever your fan fiction is for, and you either have to get special permission, which is usually written in almost like a legal setting, or in some cases it seems like you can actually there's Disney stories. There's one that it's called I think Inuda Secret for Frozen 2. That one was actually, that you could almost consider that a fan fiction, but it was written under the Disney title by one of their writers.
That's actually interesting. WTC threw up an interesting comment, or just strip out all the fan references and then you can publish it. Something like 50 Shades of Grey, which I mean, you can, right? I know we've done, I think I did a copyright stream a couple months back, but I mean, it just comes down to what you think is copywritten material, whether that's an image, quote, or something altogether. When I think about copywriting, or I think about copying something, the thing that I think about is like, okay, so what if I try to do something that's like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or some big popular franchise? I take out as much as possible, but I miss the hat of a main character that is a copyright for one of their toy figures. And then in 6 months after I publish, I receive a copyright takedown from Disney or whatever. That's take it down or you're going to get fined a lot more money than you probably have. Like that's the kind of thing that I would expect from like a bigger company. So I think it's always just like, maybe it's a thoroughness to it. I've never tried it myself before. Have any of you guys tried to write? I mean, so I know you do fan fiction, but you post to the fan fiction based sites where that's like a pre-existing community as compared to try to publish and make money off of it.
Honestly, I would love to do that with actually with the fan fiction I'm working on now. I almost want to try working this into something completely original. But yeah, I know when I first started writing, the very first fan fiction I wrote this year, I almost looked into what it would take to actually publish that as like a one-piece work, because it all took place pre-canon. But that's when I found out that no, you can't publish fan fiction without getting some kind of special copyright thing.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I'm asking myself if I would ever try it at some point. I think I would feel so much more successful if I was writing in a genre or a world that I liked, and I would probably buy the copyright, whatever that copyright thing is to write in the world. I think that's probably how I'd go about it. Then you wouldn't even have to be worried about messing up anything. That would be my guess. By the way, after the poll we did, real quick, I wanted to throw up. I was asking what everyone's style of writing was in the community, and it looks like finalizing the poll of everyone here, we have 70% short story, flash fiction, and novel, and then 10% graphic novel, 10% scripts, and then 10% poetry or other. So it looks like we have a much bigger short story, flash fiction, or novel writing in today's community. So I thought that was interesting. And with that, let's do a writing sprint because I know I need to get some work done. Let's see. While I throw this up, what are all y'all going to work on today?
My Lunarian fan fiction again.
Beautiful. You're bringing up our fan fiction.
So did you finish The Lost Unicorn?
No, The Forgotten Unicorn, I'm nowhere near that. I actually have to redo the prologue because it is such a mess.
I caught that, and I was like, oh, I wonder if you got anywhere with it.
No, I meant to work on it yesterday, but
life.
I just completely spaced.
I'm going to work on the Love Spell Murders, because my editor is expecting that at some point next month, so I should probably finish.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. You must have a good, cool editor who's.
Oh man, like let me tell you what, like he really is.
Awesome.
And he's gonna look at this and go, "What? What is this, Hartley?"
What's this editor you're talking about? Is this? Let me look up the definition. How do you spell that again?
How do you spell editor? I hear he edits real good.
Real good.
He writes real good. He writes good, yo.
He learned me how to write.
I have his voice in my head because he edited something else I did, and I get around to doing the little thing that he hates, and I'm like, he's just gonna axe it, so just don't even bother writing it down. Save us both some time.
Right,
I'm excited about the Love Spell Murders. I haven't revisited that in a while. Anybody else? What are y'all working on?
I'm still working on a novella that should have been done weeks ago, but apparently my fingers doesn't move as quickly as Saul's.
It's okay, Emma. We can all hope. We can all try
to
get there one day.
Or yours, Bobby.
Bobby's a really tough writer too.
Just a quick side note. I'm going to keep myself muted unless I'm speaking because there is so much noise here. It is unreal.
Really appreciate that, Bobby. Really, really do. I know sometimes with writing things, I'm like lucky that I'm in a community where there's not very much noise. But I try to imagine if I was like in a city or previous places, and it's just so loud. It's like so hard to stream sometimes. So I really appreciate that. You're trying not to hurt everyone's ears in the community, and they probably appreciate you too.
Trying my best.
Beautiful. I think I have this all set. Perfect. I wanted to add the Freaky Friday covers to it. So I have this all set. Perfect. Whether you are brainstorming, writing, or editing, it's all the same. Come join us. Let's get some writing done. I will throw up the music because 25 minutes on the clock, and it's time to write now. All right. And thank you. Thank you. So that was the first writing sprint. Excellent. Excellent. So we were able to get some good work done. I know I did. Now, before we hop back into the rest of the group, a couple things. So, first off, if you're enjoying the stream, follow and subscribe. We're here every day with the Right Now community. So whether you want daily writing motivation, very active writers group, critique groups, clearly some type of critique group in the horizon in the future, or author interviews, fiction contests, or any other type of writing craziness, this is the place to be. So tap that follow button, tap that subscribe button, and you'll be alerted when we go live. All right, beautiful. Now, before we hop back into it, I'll bring everyone up onto the screen, but I want to do the cover reveal for the Flash Fiction Contest. So I'll bring up all my friends, and I know everyone's probably all stoked from our previous writing sprints. Welcome back, guys. Welcome, everyone. I wanted to welcome you guys back. I hope the writing sprint treated you guys well. And I want to hear a little bit about it, but now's the perfect time. I wanted to do some of the cover reveals for the fiction contest this weekend, which I know everybody is very well aware of.
I got no writing done, but I had an idea that I need to talk to you about later, Jared.
Ooh, excellent. Looking forward to hearing that. Definitely shoot me a DM. I'd love to hear about it, Bobby. And excellent. I know we are having some great conversations here in the chat. It looks like we're talking about a mix of the music vibes and some poetry and some writing and all that jazz. I'm glad everybody is enjoying the Nickelodeon themed playlist. That's just for you guys. All Nickelodeon themes to help give everyone that Rugrats styled vibe from the 90s. Do you want to feel like a 90s kid again? And come hang out and listen to my playlists. There you go. That's the vibe. Anytime I create a new playlist, I play around with different styles. And I think every single playlist just ends up with a different vibe. And this one kind of came out like, it was like kind of a roller coaster of, I definitely saw the Nickelodeon vibes when people were talking about that. Absolutely. So without further ado, so obviously everyone here knows well about the fiction contest. I know ML is one of our finalists. Super cool. Penelope and myself have been hard at work to be able to really make this a reality. And I know Soul, you'll be joining us as a reader on one of the days, one of our guest authors. But we are officially announcing round C. So for anybody who hasn't seen the next 3 cover reveals, without further ado, our next 3 stories that are going to be read and voted on Saturday's Flash Fiction competition, starting with Marta Tawanska's The Devilish Secrets of the Old Walls. A true story told by the main character who, along with all her neighbors, experiences paranormal activity. The protagonist decides to investigate the situation and discover the secret hidden by this spooky place. Thanks to further clues, she manages to find out what the building they currently live in used to be a school, and teachers in ancient times tortured the children, which sometimes even ended in the death of students. So a very, very interesting psychological thriller. I know I'm looking forward to it. And I definitely have to once again commend Penelope for our craftful art direction, for being our crafty art director on this project. So very, very cool. So that is story number 1. And then going on to the second cover reveal from our very own Miss Courtney Stevenson, Laughing in the Dark. As we have Waking Up in a Coffin would terrify most, but for her, it's just the beginning of the thrill. After ignoring all the warnings at a haunted house and following a group into the forbidden woods, she finds herself in the hands of Shade, Chain, and Creep, 3 twisted masters of fear who revel in torment. Now trapped in their cannibalistic game, she must prove her worth to join their deadly circle. But fear That's just her idea of fun. Absolutely. Congrats, Courtney. Definitely looking to reading your story, Lapping in the Dark. And then last but not least, from our mysterious community member. That's right. Our mysterious community member. Let's see where it go. Oh, wow, huh? He's disappeared. All right, well, that's fun. Let's see.
Jezebel.
Okay. Jezebel. It's gonna be that's just gonna be the theme of everything. Jezebel.
Anytime anything goes wrong, it's Jezebel's fault. It probably is though. So
and there we go. We got our mystery MacGuffin, the unusual suspect. On Halloween night, Detective Harper's routine interrogation takes a dark turn when the suspect seems to know more than he should about Harper's life, his family, and unsettling details no ordinary criminal could access. As the tension builds, Harper's fear grows. But when the suspect vanishes without a trace, both from the interrogation room and security footage, Harper is left questioning his sanity and the chilling truth of what he witnessed. Who or what was the man with the glowing yellow eyes? And why does he know so much about Harper's deepest fears? So our third and final cover reveal of round C. Super excited. Definitely looking forward to it. These ones are going to be quite a blast. So thanks for joining me in that, friends. I know I wanted to do a full-on cover reveal. Round C. Who's all excited? Who's all excited for the competition?
Yes.
I'm like, I don't know what to expect, and Jezebel's probably going to mess with us. Like, I can already tell.
It's formatting the anthology was any indication. No, like literally, it was haunted last night. Like I was in Atticus trying to format the anthology, and it literally just started flipping through pages for no reason. I was like, it's too real. It's too real.
every time there's a technical difficulty, Jezebel. I know everyone's here. Courtney's objection. My client is innocent. Or maybe they aren't. I don't think we have any innocent clients in this round of stories. Or are they?
Nobody's innocent. Yeah.
WTC, you have one more round, right? Yes, we'll be revealing and announcing round D tomorrow, our last and final round, which will be on Spooky Saturday. I know the round C ones look cool. I'm just so amazed by everyone's stories and how they shape up. Courtney, I'm excited for the Discord hangouts. Yeah, I hope all you guys join. I hope we got some cool other Halloween costumes. I know I am super stoked. So we'll see. We'll see what Halloween costumes we can get out of this craziness. We'll be doing it both on Friday and Saturday. I know it's spooky season, isn't it? It really is. Tiara's like, hey, what's up, Tiara? Welcome, my friend. But I mean, so fiction contest or no fiction contest? You guys have doing anything for Halloween? Any cool Halloween vibes?
Yeah, my kid's got a trunk or treat thing, so we're gonna have fun doing that. Last year, his school did the trunk or treat, and I don't know what this guy was thinking, but he had an actual chainsaw. And I don't know what he was dressed up as, but he actually brought an actual chainsaw to this trunk or treat for an elementary school.
What the heck? I don't even think that's allowed. I don't think that's allowed. Some guy with a chain, he's like, this is just my Halloween costume. And we're like,
It was terrifying.
Yeah, I'm like,
wow.
Real quick, I want to say this for Megan. It was not a kid. No, it was a grown-up who was actually dressed up, and he had somebody with him handing out candy. It was not a kid with a chainsaw. It was an adult.
that is so crazy. That's someone like,
Did he?
Oh, you know what? I need a costume. Oh yeah, we just have a chainsaw in the garage. That'll be fine. It'll make it feel real.
Did he have the chain on or off? Because sometimes they take the chain off.
It might have been off. I was not 100% sure. Because, I mean, that was a year ago, so he might have had it off, and I just don't recall.
That seems to be what... most of the like haunted houses and attractions, usually they have the chain off. The chainsaw is operational, so they can make the loud noise, but there's no actual turning chain.
Anyone going to be going to a cool haunted house this Halloween? Any cool haunted houses out there?
No freaking way.
You're like, nope, not happening. This weekend we'll be getting to explore a haunted house of the mind. Perfect type of haunted house to experience.
My laptop is haunted by Jezebel. I'm good.
Like, I've been dealing with enough haunted. I know a lot of people go to like pumpkin pavilions. There's like, I know when I was living in like cities, there's like pumpkin, great things for like families, kids. I just want to carve a pumpkin. That's what I want. I went for the pumpkin carving. Even if I can never make it look like a face.
I can make a pumpkin look decent, but it's still not the best. And I just prefer to carve out pumpkins because then I can make roasted pumpkin seeds.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. No, those are fun to make.
I didn't even know you could do much with pumpkin seeds. That actually sounds really tasty.
Yeah. How do you season yours?
Little bit of salt. Just a little bit of salt over it and just roast them in the oven. Me and my mom used to make them for years, and it was just a perfect little treat. A lot better than stuff you can get in the store.
I had never had.
Who's making what?
Pumpkin seeds?
Pumpkin seeds, yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I had never had pumpkin seeds until my sister-in-law from Detroit moved to Kentucky and brought that tradition with her.
Sounds good. Even though I don't even know if I've ever had pumpkin seeds before.
You're missing out.
Sounds like it. I was like, I didn't even know that you could have pumpkin seeds. Unless they were pumpkins.
All right. What's everybody's favorite Halloween candy?
M&M's.
M&M's.
Thank you, ML.
I love that.
I think
I'd have to say anything greasy. Anything with chocolate, basically.
Chocolate.
Yes.
Chocolate is the way to your heart.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Not much for candy, except when it comes to chocolate.
Have you guys seen it makes the rounds every year. It's a comic, and it's Death knocking on this woman's door, and this little old lady with white curly hair comes out, and she's like handing him like the trick-or-treat candy, and he's like, no, Margaret, I'm here for your soul. Like, and then he's like, holy shit, full-size Snickers? Never mind, Margaret, we're good. I love that one. I like candy corn. I like candy corn.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think candy corn tends to be one of my more favorite like Halloween vibe ones. It's like a lot of candies you see throughout the year, but like what are just like, yeah, I won't have like a lot like an extreme amount, but I think I enjoy them because it's just a Halloween one that'll go. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, we're like just pure Halloween type candy, or maybe it's just an excuse to eat candy. I don't know, one of the two. Yeah, like, I feel like
something that I miss that the older people used to make were the popcorn balls.
Ooh,
Oh,
man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the popcorn. Actually, yeah, I remember that. Popcorn balls were really good.
I haven't seen one of those in like forever.
I think it's always challenging because as a trick-or-treater, unless like you know the household, somebody giving out baked goods is a little bit more of a challenge. Right? Like, especially if you're like a family and you have kids, like it's something just with baked goods, even though they could probably be the most delicious thing ever, but baked goods are a hard one to do as a trick-or-treating type of thing.
I was a kid from the 60s, so they had all kinds of spares if you lost a few, you know.
You're like, that's how it used to be. That's when Halloween used to be great. Man, it sounds like we have a lot of different Halloween styles here in the community. Let's see, cinnamon sugar pumpkin seeds are good. Milky Ways, Kit Kats, lollipops are bomb. Gummy brains from Target. Ooh, who doesn't want brains on Halloween? I do love my zombies.
Brains.
Brains. Anybody else here a zombie fan?
No.
Jared didn't catch that.
I used to really like The Walking Dead.
You mean like the first season?
Yeah, like the first
seasons
few
ago?
seasons. And then Negan showed up, and I was like, no.
Talk about really interesting storytelling. So, because I remember Walking Dead and Game of Thrones were around the same time. And I think once again, I ask myself, how do these things hit such a mainstream appeal? Not everybody likes zombies. Not everybody likes dragons and fantasy, yet it appealed to all four markets because of the characters. It was a mix of the characters and the actors that brought it. Game of Thrones was definitely the actors infused with the characters, whereas Walking Dead, the characters really stood out in the first couple. It wasn't about zombies. It was about real people trying to survive a zombie apocalypse.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was drama with zombies. And the drama was so high-pitched this first couple of seasons. I mean, waking up in a hospital and having, like, nothing around and no idea. Like, that is such a cool thing to do to a character.
Okay.
Put them in the middle
of
nothing
fan
and figure it out.
of Z Nation. Did anybody ever watch that?
Z Nation. I liked it.
Sci-fi.
Yeah, I think I saw it when it was on Netflix at one point. I want to say I liked
its humor because they put comedy in there with it, because like it would be nothing unusual for them to be going through like Wisconsin and you would see this giant cheese roll, rolling over the zombies.
This is awesome sounding.
What? I have to watch that.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I saw one scene from that when I woke up from a nap. I have not ever tried to go back to that show since. Scared the ever-living crap out of me.
But even if you're not like a fan of like scary zombies, I hope most of you have seen something like Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead was another very funny zombie spoof that makes you appreciate the zombie genre.
Yeah. I think the movie series that like the 28 days, those movies. And then I think it went on to like 28 weeks or what. That was a really good zombie series.
Yeah, that was a great one actually. And the reason 28 Days worked so well was because it subverted expectation for zombies. Zombies in 28 Days can run and charge at you and have bloodlust essentially. But the average zombie is a slow shambler, and if you're not a dumbass, then you can probably get away from most zombies.
Except that they always figure out how to like hide under something and grab your ankles.
Exactly. That always happens. Every single zombie thing, they always figure out how to, even though they're like brain dead, they always figure out how to be clever and
they're just it's the sheer amount of zombies maybe. Has anybody seen Warm Bodies?
Yes.
Okay.
I love that movie, and I love the book.
Cute. Oh, there's a book.
Have you read the book? Yes,
it
it started out as a book. The movie is cute, but the book is a lot better.
Is it? I might have to
check
that
out.
Yeah, because it was such a. If you guys don't know, it's a zombie. The guy is a zombie. He's played by what's his name?
Nicholas Hoult.
That's it. He's amazing, and he's a zombie trapped in an airport, I think, and he ends up falling in love with a girl.
Basically,
It's
think
from
of
his
Romeo
point of
and
view.
Juliet with zombies.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
zombies.
from a zombie Romeo's point of view, like it is so like
Well,
it's really cute.
the characters were R because he couldn't remember anything except the R, and Julie was the main character, that he fell in love with. So R and Julie. So it was Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah,
It's like, I
it's
think
so
that was one that I
Treatment.
missed.
Basically.
It was like, I think that was one that I missed. I'm trying to think of like good zombie stuff. Actually, I think I would argue that one of the best zombie TV shows, I know we had talked about Walking Dead, Last of Us, which was last year. Anybody that's seen Last of Us,
need
it
to
was
watch
so well
that.
done. It was so
Pedro
well done.
Pascal.
I know, of course. Who doesn't love
He's so
yeah, he's done
amazing.
so much. You know what? I want to say a few months ago I rewatched Game of Thrones, and he was from Game of Thrones. The character who gets the eyes, the eyes scene is funny.
The Red Viper, yeah.
The Viper,
Yeah.
and then he went off into a galaxy far, far away to guide Baby Grogu in the Mandalorian before going into the zombie apocalypse.
I actually adored him in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. If you haven't seen that, it's the most absurd thing. It's about Nick Cage playing Nick Cage. No, it's so meta. And it's like, so he's Nick Cage, he's playing the character Nick Cage. Like he has flashbacks of himself and younger roles. I mean, like literal Nick Cage, right? And anyway, this guy wants him to come like hang out with him at his like exotic massive mansion, and it's Pedro Pascal, and he just wants to hang out with Nick Cage, and he's got like the room of memorabilia type stuff, and but it turns out that the guys he's like a huge drug runner or something like that. But yeah, no, it's like the weirdest. Like they trip on acid at one point and like go hang out in town, like, and there's the adorable look Pedro Pascal meme, that's where that's from, because he's like looking at Nick Cage with all the love. Like it's so bizarre and adorable. And I just loved him in that. He's just so much fun. But yeah, that was he's just one of those actors that's just really versatile too.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I always remember about him is what was the article said? That he basically created like the dad role.
Yes.
Yeah, I could actually see that. He plays the dad and plays the dad very well, especially in the end of the world.
Yeah, because I think that article was talking about him in The Mandalorian, and how he was gonna, and this article was like before The Last of Us came out, and it was and then it started talking about how I guess like the person who wrote it had already seen like a little bit of it. I guess they were like some kind of probably like some kind of critic or something, and they talked about how he just like seemed to have this knack for playing the dad role, which I thought was just awesome. Because like we don't really have a lot of actors that can portray that as well as he seems to.
There's like a natural rhythm for it, absolutely.
Is The Last of Us, is that the one with the fungus takes over?
Yeah, it's a parasitic fungus.
They changed it from the video game, but I understood why they changed it or adjusted the way the fungus worked in the world.
So I just looked, and the next season of Last of Us is coming out January 1st.
All right, so you've played both the last. Oh no, you haven't played the games.
I tried to play the game and I kept getting scared, so I had to stop.
All right, so I'm the only one who's probably played the games. The second season is going to be crazy. That is, I can say that. For anybody who doesn't know what the storyline is, I won't spoil that, but the second game was extremely divisive. It was extremely, extremely divisive. It came out about 10 years after the first one, and when it did, gameplay amazing, storyline still amazing, but extremely divisive because the decisions they decided to go. And it's interesting seeing the trailer, and I'm sure any of you guys can relate with this when you've seen, like, you read the book already, or you've read like a story already and you see the adaptation and you see how they adapt it. And you're like, I know what's going to happen. How are they going to do it? Are they going to do it well? Please.
Oh, yeah, that's always fun.
I have a question for everyone.
Yeah.
And this includes you too, Kaufman.
Mm-hmm.
What sparked your love for writing?
It's a great question. Absolutely great question. Man, I fell in love with writing when I was really, really young, actually. When I was like really, really young. I think I was always an avid reader, with Lord of the Rings and Ender's game being two of my early ones. And then my parents bought me a create your own story kit. So I embarked on doing a 20-part retelling of the Super Mario franchise. And I thought I could do it better when I was like 7 or 8 years old. So it was very clever. I wrote like all these, it was like 2 or 3 sentences per page, and I animated it, and they all looked like stick figures, and it was very cute. And from then on, I've been writing ever since. That's a great question, though. How about the rest of you guys?
I think for myself, it actually might have been the vacations I took as a kid. So my family, we were not exactly conventional when it came to traveling every summer. We didn't go to Myrtle Beach. I've never been to Disneyland or anything like that. We went to Yellowstone, Yosemite, Glacier National Park, the Grand Tetons, the Grand Canyon. We've been to a lot of national parks. If it can be reached by car, we've probably been in it. I started traveling when I was 8, and I was the kind of kid, I'd beg my parents for a book every day almost.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my books were Native American mythology or other similar stories. And surprisingly, despite my distaste for horror, a lot of ghost stories. And I honestly think that's where my love of stories actually comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, and I wanted to do that myself. And then as I got older and I started getting into video games, it turned into wanting to make stories for that. And honestly, the first story I wanted to write was pirates. And I think that actually was stemmed from my parents divorcing. I think that's actually what started it, even though that wasn't the inspiration for it.
Wanted to like explore. And I know that definitely happens for a lot of people, where they can start off with like, oh, I want to explore this thing or this trauma that has happened in a way that is just in a different way. I
gotta admit, I found out eventually that no, the story was not stemming from my parents' divorce, but from something a little related, but it was still interesting when I figured that out.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like going down the rabbit hole, right? You think it's one thing, but it's something else entirely.
God, whatever is worse than a rabbit hole is what that was. But yeah, no, I think that's what started. I think that's what inspired my writing, is just vacations and dealing with a lot of crap.
Oh, well, that's cool. So thanks for sharing. What about the rest of you guys? I love this question. We all started with writing somewhere. Penelope, you look like you're muted.
I've been a lot of different writers in my life and a lot of different types of writing, but most recently when I became Penelope Hartley, eventually, it was a call. Like, it was a literal calling. Like, I felt very much like I'd done so much. Like, I'd written poetry when I was younger, and I went to grad school for it, but I went to grad school for history as well. So I have a lot of academic background where I took a lot of different courses and subjects that interested me, and that was like sociology, history, and English. And so I had this kind of culmination of things bouncing around in my head, and I just felt like a very strong impulse to write a story that would kind of, to me, it was almost an interface with humanity, a way for me to talk about like the things that are traumatizing to us, are uplifting to us, the things that we have coming down because as a historian, one of the things that you can kind of, there's this really beautiful line in Carl Sagan's The Dragons of Eden, which isn't about dragons at all, Carl Sagan, but it's about the evolution of human intellect. And he says that the part of your brain that's responsible for memory is also responsible for kind of foretelling the future or seeing trajectories. So as a historian and having studied how human history has progressed, we're coming to a point, I believe, that's going to be very tumultuous for human, the species and the planet and things like that. And so I felt, which is, as very like big, sexy, save the world type stuff, but I wanted to, in a very small way, kind of make a contribution to how I could see us changing our way of thinking about things so that we can put ourselves in a better position. And the first story that I wrote was absolute crap. I wrote it in like 3 days. And it was this like little sci-fi fantasy thing that happened at the end of the world. And then I started going back through that, and I ended up writing The Horse Thief's Grimoire, which is about one person who gets saved from the collective badness that is like the life that they're born into, and gets to come back into, like, the whole planet's like enveloped in a desert at this point, and they get to go into an oasis and rediscover nature and what it means to be human, and explore the world. And I think that was a really important, it's actually like, so I say it's a call. I dabble a lot in tarot, and I had an idea of what kind of story I wanted to tell, but I drew a card for it specifically asking if I could write one story, what would it be about? And the card actually matched with the one that I had in mind, which was the hangman. So the trial, the sacrifices that we make to get to a better place, or to make the world a better place. And so that was the book I wrote. And that's when I really sort of felt everything kind of aligning and falling into place for me as a writer. Suddenly I felt like I've been searching aimlessly my entire life for this thing I wanted to discover. And I realized I didn't want to discover it so much. I wanted to have experiences, but I wanted to take all of those experiences and come back to myself and write something about that. So, but I inevitably end up like, and then I add like stupid jokes into it because I have to keep it interesting so people will keep reading it. But yeah, I mean, like, for me, it really was a calling. And I think that that happens to almost everybody, honestly. I feel like everybody has a calling to some sort of art, some sort of way of expressing themselves. I absolutely believe we are dynamic, creative people. That is, we come from creativity. We create things, and we have this gift of imagination, and we have this way of expressing ourselves that can be healing, or it can be entertaining, or it can be whatever. And I think that we all have a sort of calling like that, and that happened to be my path to figuring out what the hell I was doing with my life. So I became a writer.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Penelope. That's really awesome. It's really, really sweet. What about you guys? I'm really curious to hear Emma and Bobby's stories too.
Well, mine's pretty short. I started writing as therapy for myself. When I lost my mother, she died suddenly, and I was the youngest of all my siblings, so I was her baby boy. So I took her death pretty hard. So I used that as therapy, and that was, something that I enjoyed. So I just continued, and finally, after close to 15 years of writing, then I finally decided to try publishing one. So that's how I got here. Quick and simple.
Oh, thanks, Emma. That's really that's
For
like
me,
the top of life. Thank you. What was that, Bobby?
I was gonna say, for me, it's kind of therapeutic. Of course, y'all know I've been doing my memoir, which I'm turning that into a play now. So it's still kind of the same thing, just a different way of writing it, I guess you could call it. Somebody had suggested to me journaling one day. And I'm like, dude, this is for chicks. Like, dudes don't do this. Like, no offense to anybody that, that does or doesn't, whatever. But, like, I had never heard up until this point of any guy doing that. And I went home. I tried it. And you would not believe the relief I felt. And I'm starting to cry just talking about it. So ignore the tears. I'm sorry. But I noticed it was very, very, very therapeutic. Like I was releasing a lot of emotions that, which you didn't get to that part in the critiquing Kaufman. I forgot your name for a second. But there's actually one part in the book that I started that I actually put in the book that, it was therapeutic and it helped me get rid of a lot of emotion. Actually, I think you did read that. Anyway, 24 years of emotion that I've held on to. So ever since I'm 30, so ever since I was 6, 20 years, is a lot of emotion, a lot of time to hold on to negative emotion. Or even longer.
Yeah.
So I thought I'm going to try journaling. Tried it, fell in love with it, still do it to this day. And I found a trick for anyone that has trouble going to sleep at night. Journal right before you go to bed. That's just a quick side note.
I completely agree with that. I think journaling can be very, very powerful and very therapeutic.
Yes. And that's what I have found now that I have actually tried it. Because I used to think it was just, women writing diaries or whatever. Because that's all I'd ever heard about was diaries and women and all this stuff. I'd never heard it called journaling before. Until my therapist said it. And I'm like, wait a minute. What's she talking about? And then I realized she was talking about writing a diary, but she just called it journaling. And so I started writing, and then it started to turn into my memoir, which, again, starting to cry. I'm going to turn into a play because I feel like that would have more power. Do we need to punt the freelance or what?
What was that?
I'm reading Penelope's message.
Oh. Do you need to punt? It's funny. I know. It's over on Twitch.
I'm like, wait, what? Y'all got me going crazy.
No, you're all good. Don't worry about it. It's over on Twitch. I'm just dealing with advertising.
Okay.
All right.
But anyway, so I found it very therapeutic, and I have another question for y'all. What book, if you're a reader, which I assume a lot of us are, I know I am. I've got a bag of books sitting next to me, actually, that I just got today. What book did you read that you thought that your first thought was, I want to tell stories like this, whether it be a memoir, your own personal story, or stories like whatever you guys are writing now?
I can answer that like immediately. The Bloody Jack series. I encountered,
Okay.
I cannot, I hate this. I actually found the third book first. I didn't know it was a series until I was like halfway through it. But I
hate when
read that.
happens.
I loved him. I actually put that above the Warrior series, which was what I was obsessed with as a kid, which is saying a lot for me. And honestly, I actually had plans that when Pirates Burning Ember released, I was actually going to send a copy to the author and thank him for his book, because his book in the series inspired me to write. Found out that he actually died years ago, but still, I ended up putting him in my dedication because his book meant that much to me.
Aw.
And honestly, I actually think L.A. Meyer's Bloody Jack series has had a larger influence over me for my love of pirates than even One Piece.
For me, and I'll just answer this real quick. And ML, I love your message you just sent over on StreamYard. But anyway, for me, it was actually a couple of memoirs that I read. Sally Field, In Pieces, incredible book. And who has watched the show This Is Us?
I haven't, but I remember when This Is Us won all the awards for what was in its prime. It did very well.
Yes. Yes. Well, she wrote a book, Chrissy, the star of the show. And that's her actual name, not her actor name. Anyway, the star of the show, she wrote a book called This Is Me, Loving the Person You Are Today. Those two books, when I read them, had me in buckets of tears. And I will actually, no, it's not it. Actually, I mean, you know, and this totally leads into a total off subject thing, but, you know, don't judge a book by its cover, so to speak. Read it first, listen to the story, whatever, before you judge the book. Because while the outside may look intriguing, the inside could be total crap, or vice versa. Right, Coffin?
Completely agree. I think that's why readers can have such, I would say, like expectations or such disappointment if the blurb, the cover, the first chapter leads the reader to think like, oh, this is going to be one type of experience, and then the book itself is just different. So I think that's why like clarity on like, oh, okay, that the front stuff has to match the style of story that the reader's going to go on the journey.
Yes.
Yeah, because like I know I'd be upset if I spent like $10 on a book. Like let's say I spend $10 on a book, and I think it's going to be like fantasy, romance, and actually I think this was the same problem that when we started doing Fourth Wall. So Fourth Wall was one of the stories I did. I'm sure you guys have all heard of the Dragon book. It was like young adult, popular. Fourth Wing.
Yeah, okay.
Fourth Wing. And I was thinking, I think one of the reasons there was such hate for it online is because it was packaged as an epic fantasy book from like advertising. It was like, okay, epic fantasy, dragons, but I think the style was more like Harry Potter. It was like Harry Potter / romance style, and I think it gave that disconnect with readers who had different expectations.
Hmm.
And I just thought of one more book.
Oh,
Naomi Judd's memoir, River of Time.
Mm-hmm.
The last line in the epilogue is, "You're not alone. I'm still here."
Hmm.
And she was talking about, I think in this part, I could be wrong. I don't have the book now. I gave it away because I was done with it, but I kept it. I think she was talking about suicide, like contemplating suicide and stuff. And which we all know that's how she passed away. May she rest in peace. But anyway, when I read that line in her book, that impacted me more, way more than the other two books did. Once I read all three, I thought, each book had impacted me more than the last one. But that one by Naomi, when I read it, that line, "You're not alone, I'm still here," had me in a bucket of tears. Like, and it's amazing when you find people that relate to your story. Just like with us 3 being adopted, or 4, or whatever.
I think it's 3.
Well, it may be 3, but whatever.
If you count the cat, it's 4.
Judge, that is my neck of the woods. Sorry, I'm reading email's message. Distracted by the chat. Sorry. But I think, honestly, if I had to solidly pick one book out of 3 that I named, it would be Naomi's. Like, I'm sitting here just thinking of that one line, and I've got a tear ready to fall out of my eye right now. Like, aww. I mean, it just, she makes you, not only does she bring you into her story, she makes you feel as if you've gone through what she went through. And then, being that I did kind of go through some of what she went through, it really impacted me, especially that one line. I will never forget that line as long as I live. But, I mean, I'm sitting here holding back tears just thinking about it. Because
I think it goes to show just how impactful certain just like storytelling words can be, because words have power. Words really do. And I think when you read something and you're not expecting it to be powerful, like maybe you might have preconceived notions, but when you're not really expecting it to resonate on such like a deep intrinsic level, I think that's the marks of great storytelling. It really is. I think that's one of the things we want to accomplish. We all want to accomplish as writers, right? We want to be able to create something that has an impact on somebody else out there. Well, at least when we're writing for others.
Yeah. And did I answer the first question that I asked earlier?
Journaling. You did. Right? How did you get into it? Journaling.
Yeah, you did. But actually, I wanted to share something with you guys, because we're kind of talking about like things that are very heartfelt, and I came across one of the most beautifully written. You could say it's an article, but it's very short, and you guys have probably heard it because it's a few years old by now. It's definitely a little old, but it's called "Eulogy from a Physicist." Have any of you guys heard of that? It's very beautiful. It's very short. I'd love to read it to you guys because it's not that long at all. But I think it challenges the beauty of life.
If you see ugly sobbing, sorry.
Bobby.
Like, I'm literally holding back tears right now.
All right, my friends. This is called Eulogy from a Physicist by Aaron Freeman. This is a beautiful alternative reading for a funeral, maybe for scientists, atheists, or both. You want a physicist to speak at your funeral. You want the physicist to talk to your grieving family about the conservation of energy, so they will understand that your energy has not died. You want the physicist to remind your sobbing mother about the first law of thermodynamics, that no energy gets created in the universe and none is destroyed. You want your mother to know that all your energy, Every vibration, every BTU of heat, every wave of every particle that was her beloved child remains with her in this world. You want the physicist to tell your weeping father that amid energies of the cosmos, you have as good as you got. And at one point, you'd hope that the physicist would step down from the pulpit and walk to your broken-hearted spouse there in the pew and tell him that all the photons that ever bounced off your face, all the particles whose paths were interrupted by your smile, by the touch of your hair, hundreds of trillions of particles have raced off like children, their ways forever changed by you. And as your widow rocks in the arms of a loving family, may the physicist let her know that all the photons that bounced from you were gathered in the particle detectors that are her eyes, that those photons created within her constellations of electromagnetically charged neurons whose energy will go on forever. And the physicist will remind the congregation of how much of all our energy is given off as heat. There may be a few fanning themselves with their programs, as he says it, and he will tell them that the warmth that flowed through you in life is still here, still part of all that we are, even as we who mourn continue the heat of our own lives. And you'll want the physicist to explain to those who loved you that they need not have faith. Indeed, they should not have faith. Let them know that they can measure, that scientists have measured precisely the conservation of energy and found it accurate, verifiable, and consistent across space and time. You can hope your family will examine the evidence and satisfy themselves that the science is sound and that they'll be comforted to know your energy is still around. According to the law of conservation of energy, not a bit of you is gone. You're just less orderly. Amen.
Oh my God,
Right.
that was
So
I had read that
beautiful.
once before
So
and
beautiful.
cried like a freaking
Mhm.
baby. And hearing you just now reading it, again, I'm holding back tears.
It's very powerful.
Ah,
And
dang it.
when we think about things that are moving, things that are very heartfelt, I remember when I first read that was very, very moving to me. Especially when what was that?
Oh, I was you just say it reminds me of the subject of my thesis in when I was doing my thesis for history. It was a woman who was a scientist, and she got, because she was a scientist, or she wasn't a scientist, she was a biology professor, and she got fired because it was the 50s, and because the tide of feminism kind of turned against less conventional women in public at that point, and she turned to poetry. And I swear to God, she wrote something almost identical to that. Like, when I'm gone, I want to be particles. I want to be molecules. I want to be the air, and like the air in my lungs turns into the air of a baby's breath. Like, it was very much in the same vein as that. And I'm like, oh my God, Gladys. her life
You guys are
was
trying to kill
so
me
interesting.
here.
But yeah,
I know, I'm like feeling like the tears over here too. We're in such like a
like
moving.
it's just, there's something so beautiful in the idea that something of us remains no matter what. And writing, I mean, not to like circle back, but like writing is a legacy too. And I think that's what part of what you hope as a writer is, somebody will, even after
If
you're
even
gone,
one
somebody will find something.
person likes your work, it's worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. We leave
That's
little
been-
molecules of ourselves behind in our words.
So there was actually a saying that kind of reminds me of a man is not forgotten. God, what was it? It was,
Ooh,
a man is not forgotten if he leaves work behind, or something like that. I can't remember the exact wording, but basically, if you create something, even if you yourself die, you are still there as long as your work is there. That's kind of what it meant.
Terry Pratchett, a man is not dead while his name is still spoken.
Yes, that was it. Thank you.
Yeah. Pratchett's still here because we're still talking about him. Thank goodness.
I start feeling that same emotional vibe, and maybe it's probably just me because I'm a weirdo, but I feel it when I think about all the writers out there. When I think about my mission to just show more writers around the world that it's possible to write and publish their stories. I think there's so many people who get sidetracked and stopped from the writing process because of life's challenges. And I think when people really play into the inspiration and the community aspects of writing, as we have here, I think that's what can be really empowering. It makes me really genuinely want to tear up and cry when I see all the people who stop when they're on the brink of awesomeness, greatness, whatever you call it. Hence one of the reasons I know I was meant to create this type of community.
Hey, I don't cry, you guys, and I'm so close right now.
I know.
So mad at all of you.
So
mad.
I feel it too. Like my eyes are watering.
I'm like, stop it. Because I'm an ugly crier. Nobody wants to see this, man.
That's me, and I'm trying not to, so don't.
Oh.
I know. This is the part in my books when everything gets really serious and I like have somebody fart or something. You gotta have both, right?
But that's one of the best feelings when you've been reading a really great book, a really great piece of writing. You're by yourself in your space, and you're allowed to be able to feel the emotional journey, whether that's crying, laughter, sadness, despair, hope, grief, all the emotions with the characters. I think that's an incredible feeling. It really is.
That's it. It's special whenever a reader tells you that they cried when they're reading one of your books, and when one of your character dies, and when they tell you that it made them cry. It's just like, I did my job.
It's like, no, my favorite character.
Wow. I think on that note, this has been an incredible writing stream. I am clearly very close, moved very close to tears over here. I don't know whether I am ugly or beautiful or weird or an eccentric crier, but I do think crying is therapeutic regardless.
Can I say one thing before you go?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs to head over to Discord and help Hermes in his quest, to get away from Daddy. Okay.
Which is an excellent lead-in to my to the reminder. If you have not already joined us in the WriteNow Discord, come join us now. Our WriteNow Discord, we're a couple weeks old, and it's a very, very active community. As you've seen from the stream, we got it's the writing story game, which Hermes is in trouble. So you should come help out little Hermes. See if Hermes can get out of this purgatory Rat King magic trap that they seem to be lost in. So definitely come join us. Drop the Discord link down in the chat. We also have other writers chat. We have information to help you with writing. We have the information for all of our holiday writing events and all that stuff. So definitely come join us in the Discord if you're needing motivation, or you just want to play around with the cat who might be out of lives. All right, my friends. I think today has been absolutely incredible. Thank you again for joining me. I think we got one solid writing sprint and a couple of good conversations and some very memorable conversations today. And I think this is what it's all about, my friends.
Basically my fault. Sorry.
It's never your fault. That's not it's an excellent fault to lead to. Excellent. I love these conversations because when we feel our emotions, that leads to stronger writing. and helping us to get closer to our goals. So thank you all for joining me today. And as we wrap up the stream, thank you for hopping on, joining us in the WriteNow community. Today has been awesome. I'll be back tomorrow for a not quite so early live stream. We'll be at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, because my morning is busy. So come join us tomorrow for some writing sprints and more writing jazz. And then don't forget, Freaky Friday, Spooky Saturday. It's going to be the biggest writing event that this community has ever put on. The first one was the Write-a-thon back in July. This one is going to blow the stream off. So let's do it. Make sure you come join us, whether you just want to hear some of the stories being read or you want to come vote on the winners. So much more to come, so much shenanigans. Make sure to come join us on the Halloween party before the events on Friday and Saturday, the Halloween Discord party. Definitely go check out the details in the Discord. And that is all that I got for you. Also, if you enjoyed the stream, tap that like button on your way out. Help us show the algorithm that writing streams are cool. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the next writing stream. Take care, writers. Stay creative.